Hey YouTube, it's Alex back again, hopefully with a better tone on this video for you guys. I know I'm not that big yet or anything, but it's just something I'm putting out there to try to, again, have a bit of an outlet for some of the things that I keep in my mind and to share some things that I believe in with the world around me. Today, I guess we're on a much better note. It's not deep philosophical talk and not, going over certain aspects that like they gloom over you or carry over through to your days. Um, Today, I want to talk about success, and however, whichever with dyslexia, whatever which way that looks to you. Not everybody needs to put on, fancy clothes and go to an office job. Some people work in the trades very well, but at the end of the day, success, or I guess happiness, because they go hand in hand, is what you make it. I used to say I never would define my happiness by the amount of dollars that's in my account. And as I get older, I think of that saying, and I've come to determine that to a degree, I think we all determine our happiness based off our finances. It plays a part into that happiness, at least. Because, I mean, if you're stressing about bills, you're living paycheck to paycheck, worried about rent at the end of the month, right? I know I am. It's just, but we make things happen, right? Whichever which way that looks to you. So you could be like I am. I said in my last video, I come from a rough family life and I've been doing this whole life on my own for the most part. And zero support system, just I show up, I spawned in, and here I am. But needless to say, it's different for everybody else, like I'm getting into here. For myself, I stumbled and I fell quite a bit. Picking myself up every time. Let's try again, let's try this new thing. And, over time, I've forged that path to be where I'm at now. And I'm not in any huge place of success, but I am moderately successful and more successful than I have ever been in my life. And that's not to say I make like 10 grand a month. That's still out of reach for me at the moment. But we work towards things, right? We set these goals, these attainable goals for ourselves. And once we have that accomplished, we give ourselves that sense of gratitude, gratification for it, accomplishment, and we move to that next goal, right? I remember being 18 years old and I set three big goals for myself in that year. It was one, get a real job, something that's actually going to pay. Two, get wheels. I need a car, can't rely on mom and dad. And then three, get the fuck out of mom's place. Get a place for myself, become an adult taking care of himself. And so within that 1 year that I set those goals, every day I went out looking for a job, 30 plus resumes, man, in the span of a week, easy, every week until I found my first good job working at a cabinet company. They made cabinets in the wood shop, had contractors go to sites to deliver. This wasn't just, McDonald's or Superstore, something like that. So, you start to build an aspect of what that world looks like to you, your professional world, how you are going to see yourself growing in it. And, that image did not take form in my head until maybe a year ago, a couple of years ago. And I'm mid to late 20s now. So what does that tell you, right? Your parents might even say the same things. Your 20s are meant for stumbling, falling, figuring things out. Your 30s is where you have it together. I am a living testament to that. But at the end of the day, there are individuals who don't have to go through that, and you could be one of them. My new boss is 21 years old. 21 years old and making around 30 grand every month. I hear that and I think to myself, what the fuck have I been doing with my life? The struggles, this and that, but 2 years ago, 3 years ago, I wouldn't have considered what I'm doing now as a line of work that I'm qualified for. Now I'm in marketing and sales. I'm no longer working in mines, doing heavy equipment operation, cleaning coal dust out of things. Like, this is an upgrade, obviously. And it's a big, big lateral move to go from blue collar and mines into marketing and sales. Big transfer over. But the point with that is you assume who you want to be, What is that image in your mind, and how do you get to that? From where you are now is point A. That dream, that goal is point B. And all it is just creating a plan between the two and following said plan. There's going to be those bumps, those hurdles that you got to get over throughout that process, but it's point A to point B. Who am I now? Who do I want to be? And the hardest part about that process is cutting out the habits that no longer serve us. Myself, smoking weed, cigarettes, drinking, going out partying with friends, all kinds of things that I stopped doing. That now it's like, I'm a stepdad, I have a fiance, I'm, older now. I wouldn't even think to go do those things. There's company events where we get together, have some drinks, but that's the extent of it. This is a professional setting. So, be patient with yourself through that process too. This is the best advice I can give for you, is just being patient with yourself. As a young man, I wanted everything all at once. I was working in car sales, making decent money here, not so much there. And there was not so much times I'd be ripping myself apart inside. Like, why am I not making 5-10 grand this month? Why haven't I hit this goal? And, all those factors considered, there's only 3 that you can control. Your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions. That's it. The world around you is going to adapt and change to that as you put yourself out there too. I could go out being negative Nelly in my mining job, and, oh, my life's so hard, this place sucks, these guys are assholes to me. And that attitude is going to reflect. As much as I try to be nice, as much as I try to do this, do you think anyone would come around to me and be, hey, Alex, I noticed you're down, but I try to be supportive. If that's how I always am, I don't think so. Whereas on the flip side, if I leave my shit at the door, like they always say, that personal stuff, you just leave it at the door. And you show up with your best self, that suit you put on, it's like a suit of armor, or your coveralls and hard hat, whatever it could be. That's your suit of armor. You've assumed you've donned that professional you. So it's a mindset change. And hopefully this kind of, whoever would watch this, even for myself as a reminder, looking back at these videos, it's a shift in mindset. You just have to shift that mindset. You're not as horrible and as unqualified and all these things that society and maybe your family and friends and people have made you to believe. There's walls that we build around us. But once we knock those walls down and we can see these horizons before us, it's like, I didn't know I could go here. I didn't know I would be here. It's like, that's life. That's life. So I guess this is more catered towards the 18-year-olds, like the younger, early 20s crowd to hear this kind of video. But if anyone does come across it, I really hope you do kind of take some of the things I've had to say to heart and maybe lighten up on yourselves. Be a little more patient with yourself. Because at the end of the day, we all have time. And even if we don't have time, it's important to live for you. What's best for you. Take care, everybody.